Welcome back to the fourth installment of In the Wheat. I would like to give you a little orientation as to what is going on here. In 1990, approximately, I was writing a book of poems, which is called In the Wheat. And these poems refer back to my stay in the seminary, where all of the things were going on that I write about in the poetry. I cite the poems, and they appear in black on the left-hand side of the screen, and in between I am giving my running commentary on what is going on. If you remember, at the end of the last installment, I was talking about loving God and looking for Him and trying to make contact with Him. Well, I didn't know how to go about it. And the only thing I could think of was I had to do it like I had to do it in normal life, in my young, normal life. And I referred back to my little girlfriend in the 5th and 6th and 7th grade of grade school. Or should I love like I loved my parents, my mother and my father, brothers and sisters? Or my dog? Or my bicycle? How was I to love? What did love really mean? But somehow I wanted that with God.
Why did they tell me to refrain my innocent complaisance? That took you as a friend. On a familiar basis. When someone told me to be strong, and not expect your warm affections, I thought how incongruous that was. For I thought that everyone had felt what you had granted me.
Living that life within that seminary really did make one feel that one was close to God. There were no distractions. There was silence. There was discipline.
What kind of swivel was it, on which you leashed me so successfully? Ah! Did you really want me at your heels, while all the others were busy learning Latin verb forms or history? It was neither swivel nor leash you used to bind. It was some living cord, through which savory morsels were being conveyed. to which I soon became addicted.
Maybe that was it. Love, the feeling of being bound to God, tied to Him some way, always having Him in your thoughts, striving in His direction. We were trying to find Him.
We had a unique orientation, with insights you gave us, and felt that we should see to it that you derived your daily bread from us, and not we, ours, from you.
How rambunctious we were, how free we were with our feelings. It was something like those strong feelings I felt for that little girl in the 5th grade.
How unencumbered we were when we came to you. Like blank tablets. Like unchiseled stones. Not even knowing what kings were it not for books. And we had but one sun, the one that ran its course up over our measured span of Indiana trees.
That sounds like we had just come out of history class, European history.
We never cringed before you. Never felt the need to. Knowing you held us dear. And saw our bonding with you behind our glaring ineptitude.
Maybe our inexperience, our not knowing, our having no idea how to reach out to God was a help. Maybe it gave us that special drive that reaches up.
We were but teenaged boys. Rough-edged, selfish, torrid, proud. And yet you held us dear. And pierced us with years of sweet injuries that would never heal.
Nobody really knew what was going on inside of us. Nobody really asked. We were all alone in this pursuit. Who knows what goes on inside a boy's mind and heart?
We tried so hard to learn discipline in those young years, when emotions welled like never before or since. But with time, we learned to rein them in, even if we somehow felt that part of us was missing.
We began to find that in loving God, you begin to love all things. You begin to see new things everywhere. and you see God in them, and they become precious, and you want to have them. But you cannot have everything, and you begin to make a choice.
We hardly knew what to do with all the freedom you gave us, and would sometimes climb over walls and into nature, kept at a distance, to our dismay, for fear it might afford us some corresponding abundance.
Yes, this was the feeling we had on those days when we could get outside and move around the premise, walk along the lakeside or into the nearby fields. The great call of nature was deeply felt, and inwardly would rile us up. But we could cope with those feelings.
Everything spoke to us about you in a fresh and pristine way, and we found you in a new surprising guise with each passing day, and we waited for your epiphany.
It wasn't that we would sit in chapel all day and wait for these epiphanies. No, we moved around with great freedom inside the ritual of the day. We would be in the classroom. Between classes, we could talk for 5 minutes. But in the study hall, of course, there was strict silence. In the corridors, in the stairways, everywhere there was silence. But we found that things were happening. Things were being shown and felt in us, that all would hang together with the God that we were looking for.
You penetrated our narrow spaces boldly, with glistening swords of slanted sunlight, and we felt spurred by your brazen flourishes.
Even when walking down the corridor, when light would shine through the window and onto the floor, we would see something there. We would feel something there. You penetrating our room.
When we passed them on the path, didn't the flowers sense the intensity of our piety, and say they had found partners in rendering you worship?
Things in our natural surroundings took on greater meaning for us. We stopped, we paused, we looked, There was so much around us. The grass, the trees, the water, the fish, the animals, the leaves. Everything took on new meaning when mixed in with the presence of God.
Could it be that you spoiled us? Like you spoiled no others? Because a war had just been waged. And even you needed boyish consolation. During those distorted days,